It was an experience. And then we were like, we never even got that far. It was all shut down and everything in the US. So, gentlemen, and then you know, it was a conglomerate of a gentleman wall, and then we had all this stuff. And then the wives started focusing on the properties.
Yes, they would see it. I wonder whether you're turning to like
I mean, it was more like you just gotta focus on oral, C4, okay. Children. No, yeah, he's here. I don't know if he's going to come tonight. I think he's going to talking to so he was there. Either come or and now I feel more comfortable.
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people story I think.
Why didn't they just buy my review? I don't know. That wasn't
Pretty interesting story. So, what's really
when they said all of their pillars, they have like 47 pillars. And I was like, well, they're all over the place, but I mean, everything is good.
so many good ideas.
Yeah, and I'm like, why don't you guys pick three? Just pick three. Exactly. Of those three, I hope it's you, but with notions. With their, I don't know, so if we was doing and then probably a little things go over here.
Yeah, so what's the other thing?
Yeah. We were at, and we also had Aura. So Aura's really interesting. It's O-R-A-A or O-R-R-A-A, right? But it's social resilience. It is what Jyoti and I spun into the kind of stuff we were doing and this how do I look at like getting insurance for how do we look at fuel no matter how we go, we give this money. So if they're kind of looking at things like that, it's not a big deal, but they had the yeah, I know. Who's the guy? So, anyways, we were just talking about what they're kind of doing their portfolio. But it was good. But I'm also like, we're talking for like 4 years. But yes, and accidents for a little while. Good to go. No, it's fine. I'm kind of hiding. No offense, but I'm like, I'm just gonna hide here. Thanks, Doug.
It's good if it's true.
So what are you doing?
I'm still doing my But again, it's
They're like,
the other one is a strategic agency
great. Yes.
mostly
I know, that's exactly it.
Okay, great.
Definitely, that's one of those cool things.
And I'm really, because I'm glad because I'm working with several schools, many different age groups now, and they all ask me, like, to marry their I work with students, all engaged with schools, students and teachers, and sometimes parents, and designing art. This is like the way that we do this, but also like the inside learning, like how the school wants to use the art in the future. And ultimately, like, the teachers are looking for a certain curriculum and making changes. So, if I have this community and I have a lot of theories on like physical design and like how to create a sustainable society. So to be able to direct teachers to existing but yeah, so that's usually existing things like around the plants. Because there's like soil. And driving them because I'm wanting to guide them to like plants are great. You gotta prepare the soil and then plants and then when plants die, you have to keep composting so that it returns to soil and then you have these cycles. But if they don't do all of those components, it's like only 4,000 per short. So this is somehow
Yes, yes, I'm so glad that we're connected. There's a lot of good opportunities. And to be able to capture that, I'm just thinking amplifying the work, right? How do we keep amplifying the work? Seeing how people want to pick up on this. Think about it, right? Like, oh, for world tours and for Philadelphia, cool, participated in the safe soil. Look at how the safe soil. And then, yeah, I don't know, whatever that is. See that.
Community gardens and after school programs, youth education, I feel like curriculum could apply in this across the world, and it'd be really great to connect that with the
Yeah, there's so much. And even like, people that are older, you can have investment. It's like 12, 15-year
You said you've been doing that in your personal business for years.
yeah, so that's to do with the founder. So there's a lot of research. There's also other aspects. Like making it accessible to people. So just like 21 minutes and good on the phone. Way to actually learn and practice. And they give it for yeah. Okay, so I have your, this is my the same project. Yes, look up this time. Two of your favorite three people. How about that? That's how I'm like, nope.
Good evening. Welcome to Earth911's coverage of an incredible Climate Week panel discussion about the impact that an investment can make to restore the environment, communities, and opportunities available to global youth. You may not be able to hear me because it's an exciting event. A lot of people are packing in, but we're going to get started in a few moments. We're also going to be introduced to Newday Impact Investing's new NEO app. It's an impact investing innovation that will be available for download on the Apple and Google app stores in October. It's going to be a busy 90 minutes. I'm Mitch Ratcliffe, publisher of EarthEcho.com and Director of Digital Strategy and Innovation at Intentional Futures. And I'm your host for this evening's online portion of the event. We're going to be turning the event over in a moment to the panel discussion, which features Ashlan Cousteau, co-founder of EarthEcho International, Anna Rathmann, who is the executive director of the Goodall Foundation, Dave Randle, who leads Blue Community, and model and water access philanthropist Georgie Badiel Liberty, as well as Jyoti Jankowski of Save Soil and Conscious Planet, along with Newday Impact moderators Brian Fairhurst. Now let's get started with the opening comments from Newday Impact founder and CEO Jankowski. He'll be on stage in just a few moments.
All right, then.
I know this is always a challenge to get people to get receiving, right? Or maybe they're starting to pay attention.
Is it the time for people to start to
It's vague when you hear the bell.
hear the bell? I just don't know that people know what the bell means. Okay. I mean, I'm happy to.
I'm sure Franny and working people from the back.
I'll assist with it. Okay, that would be the shepherding. Yeah. Thank you.
This is just the start. Of course. Yeah, let me ask him if he can turn my mic on. And Brian, yes, I haven't met. Good evening, everybody. Good evening, everybody.
This planet has filled me with the wonder of all living things, great and small. When nature suffers, we suffer. And when nature flourishes, we all flourish.
1 teaspoon of soil has more organisms than there are humans on this planet. Yet by 2050, the UN predicts that 90% of our agricultural soils will be degraded, leading to food crisis and global famine.
In the last 40 years, we've lost half the world's biodiversity. 90% of the world's large-scale animals, whales, sharks, etc., have disappeared.
What we're dealing with all the time is more and more development and more nutrient loading into our coastal estuaries. So the number one issue that we're working about is coastal resiliency using biological mitigation strategies around bivalves and seagrass.
As a young girl, I used to walk 3 hours to fetch water with my grandmother and cousin goats. So from then, I decided to use my platform to help create change, to build sustainable water system so that water is uninterrupted in their community.
EarthEcho International is a global youth environmental education organization rooted in the belief that young people have the power to change the world. What keeps me going and gives me such optimism in the world is working with young people and seeing the determination, seeing the optimism that they are focused on solutions and on building a better world and that it's possible.
The Georgie Badiel Foundation is proud to collaborate with Newday to create change in my community. Newday changes the way of investing by creating a direct impact with the community we work with.
Creating a portfolio where investing becomes impactful and mainstream.
$30 to $45 trillion that is going to be shifting generationally over the next decade or so is an extraordinary opportunity to drive resources into the types of businesses and companies that can renew and enhance the health of our planet and people. And that's really what we get excited about. Newday is an investment opportunity for those new investors out there to think about, wow, I can change the world with the dollars I'm investing.
Newday is something that we can point to work with, to try to build this movement, to show people how they can support, how they can invest, how they can participate in these businesses that are making change.
I do believe in the possibility of a world where we can live in harmony with nature, but only if every one of us does our part to make that world a reality, so that when you look back over your journey, your life, you can truly say, I did make a difference.
Change in my community. Newday changes the way of investing by creating a direct impact with the community we work with.
Creating a portfolio where investing becomes impactful and mainstream.
$30 to $45 trillion that is going to be shifting generationally over the next decade or so is an extraordinary opportunity to drive resources into the types of businesses and companies that can renew and enhance the health of our planet and people. And that's really what we get excited about. Newday is an investment opportunity for those new investors out there to think about, wow, I can change the world with the dollars I'm investing.
Newday is something that we can point to work with, to try to build this movement, to show people how they can support, how they can invest, how they can participate in these businesses that are making change.
I do believe in the possibility of a world where we can live in harmony with nature, but only if every one of us does our part to make that world a reality, so that when you look back over your journey, your life, you can truly say, I did make a difference.
Welcome, everyone. It's not by coincidence that the song when you walked in that was playing was Peter Gabriel's and Ender's poetic and inspiring piece that they had written decades ago, Shaking the Tree. Because it is a piece that we chose as representative of what we are all trying to do here this evening in Newday Impact's work. As we were preparing for this event this evening, I actually thought, well, maybe we should rename the event Shaking the Tree. And I attended a dinner last night. I don't know whether Anna Lerner is here or not, but she used that expression around the work that they were trying to do at the World Bank GPSA in working with their constituents in Africa. Could there be a better metaphor for what we're trying to accomplish today in the world? My name is Jankowski. I am the CEO and co-founder of Newday Impact. In a metaphorical sense, shaking the tree means a lot of things. It's something that we do to cause a reaction. It is also something intended to stir things up. And I know that there are some people in this room that I know personally that are famous for stirring things up. And I hope that over the course of the next couple of years, there are more of us out there shaking things up. Even from a biblical sense, shaking the tree is about waking up. We cannot, as a society, walk into the future as zombies. There's too much of it today. Walking around like Roombas, bumping into walls, cleaning up dust, and sometimes dog hair. It's a little bit of an inside joke because my husband and I, who just moved back to the New York metropolitan area, are living with my brother and sister-in-law, who are now empty nesters. They have 2 giant Labrador retrievers, and we have a dog. And while they've been incredibly gracious about hosting us, think about this, 4 adults and 3 dogs, okay, that are responding at the most inopportune times to a robot that wakes up at all hours. And there's a cacophony of dog barking when you're in the middle of a conference call or when you're trying to sleep. We are incredibly grateful for everything that all of you are doing today. And our mission is to accelerate this work. Today, I'm feeling anxious, as I'm sure many of you are. I'm anxious because of the inhumanity that we continue to witness in places like the Middle East, in Burkina Faso, in Sudan, in Russia, and Ukraine. I am anxious because we as Westerners have for far too long sat on this decadent pedestal of infallibility. And we are all of a sudden waking up to this idea that we as a society are as vulnerable as any other major empire from the past, particularly if we don't change things. I am anxious because for my family, for our 3 children, there are a number of frighteningly existential threats that are coming at us. I know they're coming, and you know they're coming. But with all of that, I still feel hope. And I am inspired. And I am inspired being back here at Climate Week, witnessing the very powerful work that so many organizations are doing, but in particular, the work that younger people are doing today. So our job is to educate and make sure that we're building the future leaders of tomorrow, and that we, as more senior people, are inspiring them to make the changes, to make the decisions that they need to make in their lives to make a real difference. Our son, our oldest son, will graduate this coming spring from Kenyon College with a double major in economics and environmental sciences. But that's not the point. The point is that educational institutions all over the world right now are building new programs built around sustainability, and kids are banging down the door to get into these programs. And we need to support them in that effort. Our work is not just about imagination, but it's imagining a world that's free of poverty, hunger, disease. A world where life can thrive. A world where physical, mental, and social well-being are available for everybody. A world where we remain committed to ensuring safe drinking water and sanitation for everybody. Our work at Newday is about doing something about it. And it is for that reason that we are here today. Gabriel and Noor also spoke about something else that I would be remiss if I didn't mention it at this forum tonight. There's nothing to gain when there's nothing to be lost. And nothing could be truer. Over the past year, we have witnessed nonprofit organizations, corporations, NGOs take a significant step back as the world has pulled back from building opportunities for inclusion for everyone. And it's shameful. Even at Newday, we have had clients say, well, why don't you rename your diversity, equity, and inclusion portfolio? And our response has been to what? And why? And if we were to rename the portfolio, it would be diversity, equity, and inclusion, and expansiveness. Because it's not just about building inclusion, but it's been more organizations supporting the efforts that we're all trying to fight for today. It was just yesterday that I had an opportunity to attend a session with Generation Unlimited that's a part of UNICEF. And a very senior representative for a major Fortune 500 organization said that it is impossible to get organizations to make decisions if they believe there's significant cost in that organization, even if it's for the common good. So what's the answer? The answer is you. The answer is all of us. Now, we all have expressions that we hate. Things like, let's think outside the box. Let's go after the low-hanging fruit. Let's not boil the ocean, right? Let's keep it real. One of my most hated expressions is this will do. Because it won't. It won't do. And we all need to be doing more. Because that's our responsibility as citizenry. We can do more and we must do more. Now, it's no coincidence this evening that you will soon hear from this incredible panel of impact leaders. And 4 of these impact leaders are women. At the political level, research has demonstrated time and time again that there are clear linkages between women's leadership and action to tackle climate change. Studies time and time again have said we need to get more women in power, in leadership positions, particularly in the global south, but we're going to do all of the things that we need to do. Women's leadership is essential to tackle this challenge. Our story of Newday began with a question. What is the impact that we could have as an organization and as a community if we were to unleash a generation's vigor for deep and lasting change by providing a mechanism for collective action? This is the calling of our time. And this is the work of Newday. We're going to talk more about this evening, but only after we hear from these 5 inspirational impact leaders. In just a moment, I'm going to hand things off to Brian Fairhurst, who I've known over the past decade, who has also become a good friend over that period of time. I have long admired Brian's approach for communication and his ability to explain concept problems and solutions in the impact space better than I've ever seen anybody do before. And we're really, really proud to have him as a part of the Newday team. Prior to joining Newday, he was a divisional guy at RBC Global Asset Management on the institutional side. He was one of the original team members over at BlackRock. He was a graduate from the University of Virginia, and believe me, this is a guy that has a lot of very interesting stories. He spent 7 years in the Air Force Special Ops and Intel. So in our networking session afterwards, corner me and ask me to share some of those stories. He will be moderating tonight's session alongside Catherine Greener, who is joining us online, Newday's Head of Impact and Stewardship, and Mitch Ratcliffe, who's over here in the corner, who we have a very long-standing relationship with. Mitch is the founder of Earth 911 and a principal in Institutional Futures. There are many tonight that couldn't make it into New York for climate. So they are joining us online. So we are running a hybrid event tonight for both live audience here and then a live audience online as well. Before I turn things over to Brian, I'd like to express a special thanks to our supporters tonight. Head High Wines, first and foremost, founded by Bill Price. They are one of the first ocean-positive climate wineries on the planet today. So really proud to have them as a supporter. Mitch Ratcliffe at Earth 911. Mitch runs a very powerful series called Earth 911 that we've been a regular participant in. I want to thank Brenna St. Ange, who, without her assistance, this never would have happened. She is our organizer at tonight's event, and really pleased to have her as a part of the team. Ed Giles, who is the founder of the Gulf Shellfish Institute, who is online as well, and very closely tied to the Blue Community Consortium, who's speaking here tonight. And then, of course, the incredible Georgie Badiel, who has lended her assistance with her team's support in bringing all of this together tonight. I'd also like I'd also like members of the Newday team to stand up and say hello. David Stewart, who's our Chief Administrative Operating Officer. Matt Singer, who's our Head of Portfolio Management. So thank you very much for being here. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce Brian Fairhurst, who's going to help us follow in the footsteps of our incredible impact icons. Brian. Thank you, Doug.
Can we go back 2 slides? Who's one of the slides? The picture of Doug. Can we just acknowledge that it looks like we literally took this head cut and you get it before you got it? Someone else out here with a headshot from like 10 years ago on like a good hair day. That Doug really. Without further ado, I'm going to ask our esteemed panelists to come up on stage and we'll make the introductions. But I want to clarify and correct one thing about this. This is not a panel of impact leaders. This is a panel of impact rock stars. Like I literally have a crush on everyone here, including Dave Randle, the one-man crush.
Yeah. Cheers, coffee.
Do we have that? Okay. Where's the one that says the uniform? Do we have that sign? Oh, no worries. Okay. It's a busy week. It's a long week. We have a lot of options for major events, so we really want to express our gratitude that you chose to dedicate some time to join us today. And my goal is to get out of the way of this panel. Everything they do, their actions, their words speak for themselves. I'm just going to try to give a little form and function to the process here. So Newday Impact Investing, the theme for the evening is get informed, get involved, and get invested for impact. But it's not just the theme of the night, it's the mantra. It's the raison d'etre for Newday. We're more than just a fintech platform, we're more just an impact investing platform. We're literally an impact ecosystem in the palm of your hand. Our mission is to bridge science, conservation, education, and investing, and democratize access to institutional quality portfolios that the big leaders, the big institutions, the big family funders have been pushing for decades, and allow individuals to invest alongside them for as little as $1,000 and get those same portfolios of impact first portfolios of bottom up equities. Our whole business at Newday is predicated on impact pillars and impact partners. Our pillars have actually changed slightly, but it spans 6 pillars: climate action, water quality and health, soil quality, regenerative agriculture, air quality, biodiversity preservation, and last but certainly not least, human equity. And the panel of Impact Rockstars here represents those. It's interesting, we're going to talk about the intersection of education, knowledge, and action here. These are pillars that are not silos. They don't exist in a vacuum. They're all interconnected, and we need a holistic approach. And each of these organizations that this panel presents have very interesting holistic approaches. If Newday is about the 3 I's, get informed, involved, and invested, our panel is really about the 3 E's: execution, education, and engagement. They are our boots on the ground, in some cases our fins in the water, experts, making things happen, engaging the youth of the world to make a better tomorrow. So that's how we're connected. We use their expertise to inform key progress indicators that help us create bottom-up equity portfolios with an impact-first goal. We share part of our revenue back when we fund their operations on an ongoing effort. And symbiotically, work together to engage to help drive big, durable, sustainable changes with the largest pools of capital in the planet. We all could spend 15 minutes going through every single person here in a nutshell. What I'd like to do is quickly introduce them and kick off with an icebreaker question. Which is going to be, what's your favorite animal, or your favorite ice cream flavor, or you can answer both. So to my immediate left, Anna Rathmann, the Executive Director for the Goodall Institute. I think that's an organization that has such a pedigree for conservation and community action that needs no further introduction. Next is Ashlan Cousteau, co-founder of EarthEcho, which is hyper-focused on ocean restoration, regeneration, and engaging youth. And it's a sad thing that the Cousteau name is not more prominently featured there, but a pedigree that again goes back and it needs no further qualifications. Dave Randle with Blue Community Consortium. He was the co-founder, again focused on coastal restoration and regeneration, also on sustainable tourism, which is critical for small island nations, coastal areas. Georgie, Badiel, the Water Princess, who had her own theme song earlier. Founder of the Georgie Foundation, which is hyper-focused on water access in the Sahel region of Africa, which sits between the Sahara and the lush, fertile rainforest along the equator, but also empowering women and youth, so women's rights and children's rights is a part of that, intricately linked. And then Jyoti, Jankowski, Director of North American Operations for Save Soil, which I think is probably one of the most groundbreaking, but probably kind of a hidden secret organization, founded by Sadhguru, who I think of as like the Indian motorcycle diaries guy, but hyper-focused on soil health and how that impacts communities around the globe. So we'll start with you, Anna. Favorite animal?
Okay, can everyone hear me? Am I on? Great. Well, I mean, this is super easy for me, Brian. My favorite animal, it's a person, it's people. I love people. So that one's easy for me too. I'm not much of an ice cream person, so I'm going to say sorbet and mango. Ooh.
I don't like people. Well, now I feel bad about what you're saying next. So I like sharks, but it's not because they eat people. Or like they get funny like my coconut vibe than getting bitten by a shark. Okay, so sharks and chocolate ice cream.
I like whales and dolphins. You think about it, whales get a lot of exercise, swimming every day, they eat lots of seafood. Good health habits, they're non-smokers. Very much. They're often playful, most of play is sexual in nature. And what's better than
This is gonna be fun.
I would go after you. But for me, I would say pistachio ice cream always get me. But I'll take chocolate or vanilla. Favorite animal, I would say enter. My last name Badiel, I mean enter. My dad is Lucy. I can't have them as a pet, but I'll take a rotation back.
All right, so for me, if you would have asked me before I joined the stage, so movement would probably be something else. But now my favorite animal is the earthworm. Because without the earthworms, we would not exist in the way we are now. And favorite ice cream depends, every year changes, but this year it's an orange one.
I'll just round it out because I bet you all that you've heard of it. Francois Langer. Raise your hand if you've heard of that animal. It is straight off the page from the Dr. Seuss book. It is a jet black primate that lives in southwestern China and northern Vietnam in the lush rainforest. And it's jet black with this giant white handlebar mustache and these huge white bushy eyebrows that go out like twice the length of its head. The only drawback is it doesn't have a crimson tail. I'm like, why be a monkey if you can't hang from your tail? So I want to start with you, Jyoti, and get into the meat of it here. And I think starting with you makes sense because we can literally talk from the ground up, right? Soil. Why soil? What do you guys focus on? What's the strategy? How is it connected? And I think that's going to set a good stage for flowing through a lot of the other pillars here.
Thanks, Ryan. You know, I think the first thing is I really just want to say thank you for having all of us on here because you're not like you're seeing the word symbiotic, right? We cannot look at things in silos. The earth is the earth, and it's all one organism that works in unison. So having all of us here is very important to be able to talk about this. So why soil? You know, we talk about trees being the lungs of the earth. Well, soil is the skin of the earth. 87% of life form is based on this soil. The 12 to 16 inches of just the top of the earth is responsible for 87% of living beings. And when you don't have these soils, the ramifications are huge. You have ramifications on the food crisis. Right now, the UN is predicting by 2050, you might have heard the video, by 2050, 90% of our agricultural soils are going to be degraded. But we're going to be 9.2 billion people. What do you think that world's going to look like at that point? So the ramifications of not having healthy soils for food crisis is huge. That also leads into mass migration. When you look at history, big civilizations have crumbled because of this aspect, right? So that leads into mass migration, farm and livelihood. But then you go and switch gears a little bit and you think about climate. How is soil related to climate? Well, if you have healthy, resilient soils, it can mitigate at least 27% of the greenhouse gases. That's 1/3 of the greenhouse gases can be mitigated by healthy soils. Then you also have biodiversity. If you have biodiversity, 1 teaspoon of soil, as you might have heard, there's more living organisms in 1 teaspoon of oil than there are soil, and there are human beings. So again, it has the biodiversity aspect. And then lastly, it also has an impact on water. Have you ever wondered when you see these images? Like I used to wonder this. You see these images of places that have drought, and then they're flooded. And the flooding is the water is all brown. I'm like, how can the same place have drought and floods? And I could not understand that before. But now I realize is when you don't have healthy soils, when you have this degraded soil, they cannot retain the water. And then you're washing away the top layer of the soil again, and that's what you see the ground. So healthy, resilient soils can actually absorb water, and agricultural soils that are healthy can actually, I believe it's about 30% of less water demand that's needed. So, the idea of soil and connection to all of these different aspects is very important. And Save Soil is working on making sure that there's a certain level of awareness and advocacy for policy changes to make sure that we have a minimum of 3 to 6% organic matter. And that's based on local conditions, understanding that there's different situations. And doing that by having plant waste and animal waste. And so making sure we have the organic matter to make soils.
That's great, thank you. That's a perfect segue into your mission, Georgie, with water access.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you so much, Doug. Thank you to the Newday team. It's an honor to be a part of Newday. And yes, I am Georgie Badiel. I'm from Burkina Faso. And some of you know my story, but for those who don't know, I started to advocate for access to clean drinking water because as a young girl, I used to walk 3 hours to fetch water with my grandmother. Fetching water wasn't something that I liked. Believe it or not, I am not a morning person. Every morning at 6 a.m., my grandmother would come. She would say, "Knock, knock, Georgie, let's go get the water." The fight starts with her. She used to call me lazy. She would tell my mom, "Oh my God, you're lazy, you're a lazy child. She's so lazy. I want that one." I was very much blessed to become Miss Burkina Faso in 2003, following that Miss Africa. Then I had the opportunity to go to Paris to start an international modeling career. In Paris, I had a great life. Oh my God. Every time I opened my faucet, there was water. I could flash the toilet down anytime I need. I could take bubble bath anytime. It was until in 2009, my sister was having a baby, and I was super excited to go back home to welcome the baby. So when I got home, I had to actually watch my sister, fortunately, waking up at 2 a.m., 4 a.m. to get water. That is when I paused and I was like, actually, nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. We have to do it as when we were kids. Now I am a woman. And I have to watch my sister, who's 9 months pregnant, waking up at 2 a.m. to get water. So from now on, I decided to use my platform to advocate for access to clean drinking water. In 2015, I created the Georgie Badiel Foundation. We named that organization. We build wells, we restore them, and what makes GBF a very innovative is that we train local women, basic engineering, and that is how I actually started. At the beginning of my career in the water sector, I would go to some villages. I would see that they have a well. And I asked women, "What do you want?" They would tell me, "Oh, we want a new well." And I'm like, "But this is already a well." They're like, "Yes, it's not working. So we have to walk 2 hours, 3 hours away from our village to get water." And my question to them was like, "Why don't you fix this one?" And I said, "Well, we don't know how to fix it." And building wells is engineering. So I called an engineer. I said, "Let's break down what you have learned all in this. Break it down to a level that someone in the 5th grade level of education can understand." Most of the women that we actually work with, some of them never been to school, and if they did, the level of education is to the maximum of 5th grade. So they broke it down. Now we have 278 women in our engineering program. We succeed to bring clean drinking water to over 360,000 people in Burkina Faso. So
we transition here. I love Jyoti's analogy that if trees are lungs of the earth, soil is the skin of the earth, and by derivation, the ocean must be the blood of the earth, right? And the existence of liquid water on the surface is literally the defining characteristic of Earth. to predicate all things on life. So we've got two panelists specifically to the question, starting with Dave. Thank you.
Wow, this is incredible to be here. I was thinking, on a panel with 4 very powerful, intelligent, attractive, and most of all, impactful women. And I get to be, as a white, older person, the DEI panelist. So, really, really happy to be here. But I wanted to say, right before the SDGs were created, we had a consultation. Richard Jordan, if you can stand up a minute, he helped organize this event for us at the University of South Florida, along with the UN and we created this event to get tourism into the attention of the SDGs, which actually happened. But that time, Ed Childs, you saw in the video, was along in the program, and he invited us to a farm-to-table dinner he happened to be hosting that evening, and started on the con and came to Joe and said, you guys have got to model this for the world. So we literally started there, and we started with about a half a dozen organizations. We now have 47 organizations, including 7 cities, universities, NGOs, and businesses that have come together to protect coastal habitat in marine environments. And we do this through educational programs, through coastal resiliency efforts. We have a program going on now with clams and seagrass that we're researching to be credits for biodiversity, for water quality, and carbon combined. We're working with the University of Central Florida. They have a global certificate program that communities can assess themselves and take action and build community engagement and power to really make change around the world. So happy to be here.
Thank you, Dave. Ashlan, your role here is to keep it real.
I'm in. So hi everybody, I'm Ashlan Cousteau. I always hate saying this, but it's true. I'm not a real Cousteau. I'm married into the family. So while my blood is not salt water, I am a water baby. And when my husband is a 3rd generation, he's Jacques' grandson, he's the son of Philippe Cousteau Sr. And for Philippe, he knew at a young age, because his grandfather and father would always tell him that really the way to make change is by women, empowering women, and empowering youth. So Philippe started EarthEcho, and literally the mission is to build the global youth movement to protect and restore our ocean planet. Because, as Ryan was alluding to, what I say is fuck sustainability. Do we want to sustain the planet the way it is? I'm 43. In the last 40 years, we've lost 50% of the biodiversity on this planet. 90% of our fish stocks are fish to capacity, or they are overfished. And when we talk about climate change, no one ever thinks about the ocean. But guess what? Climate is an ocean problem, because what controls our climate? Our frickin' ocean. So when we are up here and we hear people talking about sustainability, we have to stop talking about sustainability and start talking about regeneration and restoration. And we also have to look at the ocean as not a victim, but as our biggest climate ally. And the same goes for clean water, for our soil, for our biodiversity on this planet. We really need to start talking about restoration, regeneration. So all of you tonight, if I hear you talking about sustainability, I'm going to be mad at you.
Last but not least.
Last but not least. Well, I'm going to take this in a little bit different of a direction. And I'm going to explain what we do and how we approach these things through the experience of our founder, Dr. Jane Goodall, who's an extraordinary person because she went into a forest. She spent time in that forest observing animals that had never been observed previously by anyone in their natural state. And she talks about this epiphany that she had while she was there. She's a young woman. She's in a forest alone, out of her comfort zone. And she talks about these threads that she started to see
in the forest, how everything was connected. And Jane talks about that. She uses the analogy of the tapestry of life. That's something that we honor in her organization. And this interconnectedness of everything, recognizing that whether it's soil, whether it's water, whether it's ocean health, it all affects us, and we all have a role to play in our responsibility in protecting it. So.
That's wonderful. I love that idea of the tapestry like a thread. And just to draw that out a little bit, so the thread here, as I see it, is starting with the ground. Degraded soil requires artificial fertilization to maintain a nutrient load, right? Degraded soil retains less water, so what do you get? You get lots of additional runoff. And that chokes up the quality of water in the fluvial system, right? And you got these nitrates flowing downstream, moving into the ocean, causing toxic algae blooms, which choke out wildlife. It is all connected, right? And at the end of the day, it's all about humans. Like, this planet will live on past humanity. And if humanity is out of the way, it's only going to take 10,000 years to kind of recalibrate, right? But if you want to enjoy and be able to thrive and sustain ourselves as a species on the planet, we need to be focusing on these things holistically. So, as is always the case, these panels, you never get a chance to do more than scratch the surface. I do want to make sure you understand that our panels will be hanging out afterwards. Please don't be bashful about approaching them and engaging and continuing the conversation. But I want to kind of take it back to two key takeaways here. As we think about all the actions, everyone in this room is a believer in that we need to be a part of the solution. But the largest pools of capital on the planet aren't necessarily in sync with that, right? There seems to be a prevailing mentality that the bottom line is somehow in conflict with sustainability, regeneration, resilience of these silos, these pillars. So if there's an action that you think companies, large corporations can be doing to more positively impact your area or reduce negative impact, we'd love to hear that. And you don't have to answer all of these. And I do want to finish on positive. We all know the state of affairs, but I want to really focus on each of you to articulate what gives you hope relative to your mission, your organization's passions. What gives you hope at this point? And we'll finish, hopefully, if we have time, on what is an action that everyone in this audience, anyone online, can take that will have immediate, tangible, measurable impact relative to your theme. So this can be conversational. We can hit all three. We can hit the one that you matters most. We've got about 15 minutes left to tackle all that.
Easy.
Jyoti, can you take us off?
So here we are at Climate Week, right here at Climate Week. And some of us will be going to COP29. And this year, COP29 in Azerbaijan is focusing on climate finance. So I think that's an appropriate idea to think about right now. Sadhu, who's the founder of Safe Soil Movement, has been doing this work for 24 plus years. We have different initiatives and things like that that have been going on, and we have about 250,000 farmers that we've been working with. We have one staff group that has 30,000 farmers that we support 12 hours a day, 7 days. So there's a lot of work we've done. But the key thing that he has done is he's married ecology and economy. And that is very important, because if we try to talk about ecology in a silo and not talk about the economy, then it's not going to go anywhere. So starting from the farmers, making sure everything we do ends up creating incentives for the farmers, whether it's policy, whether it's creating a marketplace for their produce, whatever it is. So we have like FPOs that help farmers, we have 25 FPOs, things like this. So always looking to see how can we connect ecology and economy. So I like this idea of mirroring ecology and economy and keeping moving it forward that way. For soil specifically, like I had said earlier, it mitigates 27%, at least 27% of greenhouse gases. But less than 1% of climate finance goes to this. So if it can be a solution for a third of what's happening in the climate, should it not have that same kind of finances going towards it? And then finances can come from public sector, which means policies and the green climate funds, whatever we have out there, but it's also can come from private sectors. It can be from companies that are not just looking at outputs, but also looking at inputs, where they can have inputs from. So there's so much we can talk about. I know we have limited amount of time, but love to talk to anybody who wants to dive a little bit deeper into this.
What gives you hope before you pass away?
Kind of alluded to this. We are all part of the problem, but we can all be part of the solution. So as I said, when he first heard about this idea of what's happening with the prediction of things turning degrading as well. Because one thing that predictions do not take into consideration is the human heart. And seeing all of you here, our movement has, because it's a digital movement as well too, we've reached over 4 billion people. People have done incredible things. They bicycled from London to India. They've gone sailing around the world with safe soul flags in them. So people is what gives me a lot of hope.
Thank you. That's wonderful.
We've been studying communities where people make less than $1 a day. So in my opinion, making less than $1 a day. I would say that when it comes to what gives me hope, I will first go with the women we work with. You know, these women, their stories before we start working with them, when we have to walk 3 hours, 4 hours away from our village to fetch a bucket of 5 liters of water. And if that is not enough, we have to actually go back. We have to spend all day long, right, just to get water for our family. Now we're coming with the solution of completely reverse that, right? Bring back that time for these women so that they can use providing them access to good clean drinking water, give them that time to actually create income. Right now, this woman have the small farming business. Some of them do. They have a salon. Some of them sell fabric or anything they can do to support the family. That is one thing that actually brings me hope. We do create jobs for these women. After we train them, Burkina Faso have over 9,000 broken hearts. That was like the problem. That is why we, as an organization, have to think of a sustainable approach to keep these water wells. It takes a lot of money, like for attaining the US, we have to go fundraise. Then we come in, we build these wells. After 6 months, they're broken. And what do we tell the donor? If they travel to Burkina Faso 2 years later, and the well is not functioning. So us bringing it's a sustainable approach to sustain this water system, right, to the community we work with. That's really hope. Lastly, I would say the support of an organization like Newday give me hope, so that we can support these communities. We can bring them the need, the basic need. That's what we're talking about. Basic of the basic need to these communities. That is.
Thank you.
In the early days of the formation of the community, we created 12 strategies with the Walt Disney Company, Animals, Plants, and Environment team to make a difference in the world. They had these strategies that Disney was actually doing themselves that could be demonstrated and validated with data. They were saying, and I don't know the company figures worldwide, but just in Florida, they're saying $37 million a year in operating costs by doing these 12 strategies. So that's hopeful. But just one example, I can tell a story for all 12 of them, but in terms of climate, which is what this week is about, they created what's called their Climate Solutions Fund. They voluntarily taxed every business unit, so ABC, ESPN, the theme parks, the cruise lines, the movie industry, all get taxed on their carbon. Then they take that carbon and put it back for more efficiency, more conservation, and switch to renewables, what they do with that money. They set a goal in 2008 to reduce their carbon emissions 50% in only 5 years, and they did it. And the next 5 years, they did it again, another 50%. So this is hopeful. And the last thing I want to say about hope, I gave everybody a blue marble, and this comes from my friend Wallace Nichols, Jay Nichols, who observed when the astronauts first went into outer space and saw the Earth, they said it looked like a blue marble. And this blue marble is everything we cherish in life. every bit of culture, every bit of biodiversity, every bit of love, all in this blue marble. And what gives me hope is something that Cousteau said to us at the Earth Summit. People protect that which we love. So if you become loving of the blue marble, that will bring a lot of hope to the world.
For advice for corporations, if you do not have a youth strategy, you don't have a strategy, period. I'll say it again, if you don't have a youth strategy, you don't have strategy. The best way to create durable change in our society is through youth. Because we can spend, we've all been a part of amazing campaigns, we've gotten land withheld, we've gotten marine protected areas, we've gotten the New England seamounts was a great example. It took years and millions of dollars to get that set aside as a marine protected area. A new boss came in, and in his first few days of office, undid it. And it's because the constituents, the voters, aren't holding people to account. So again, when we think of any type of strategy that any corporation, that any philanthropic giving wants to have, you have to think through youth strategy. And that is why EarthEcho was founded. And that is also what gives me hope, because I am sure, I know for me, for all of us up here on our panel, we've never walked into a classroom and had kids look at us and say, well, climate change isn't real. Or look at us and say, well, ocean's not warming. They know it, they are fired up, but it's also not just their responsibility to fix it, it's ours. So we can't just keep passing the buck on to these younger generations. We need to make sure that we are, as Doug said, good leaders, that we're showing them that we're supporting them. We're not just telling them what to do. Youth are not the hands and feet of our movements. They're the heart and they're the minds, and we have to treat them that way. And that is what these kids are phenomenal and are doing things that I never would have thought of at their young age to change. Yeah, I never am. Small hands, they can do really good things. So I would say that. And I would be remiss. I have two children, I think I'm working fine. I would be remiss if I don't say this one thing. The one thing that every single one of you can do in this room tonight is I'm sure many of you take omega-3 supplements, right? They're good for our hearts, they're good for our brains, they're good. Most of our omega-3s come from fish oil and specifically krill oil. I'm on board down in 2030. We're trying to get 3 new marine protected areas passed in the Southern Ocean. There's 2 holdouts when it comes to CAMLAR, which is the governing body. It's Russia and China. China looks like they might be moving to the correct direction. Let's keep that fingers crossed. But the reason they're doing that is because 90% of the market value of krill that's coming out of the Southern Ocean, which is our largest carbon sink on the effing planet, is coming to North America for nutraceuticals for omega-3s. There's a better alternative. It's where fish and krill get theirs. It's called algae, and if all of us switch to an algae-based supplement rather than fish and krill that's moving in the ocean and screwing up this Antarctica, that we can make a difference. So it's finding those things, the lowest hanging fruit, even though I know you hate that, Doug, but it is the lowest hanging fruit. We can change our supplements, save us in our ocean, move on to our next problem. So, sorry, that was a while, but there we
go. What gives me hope? I would say 3 things, and it's gonna lead to something else. First of all, the resilience of nature. You know, I think all of us in our work, and many of you, and in your own experience, will see that when given the chance, nature really can rebound. When we step out of the way, and we have all kinds of examples of that all over the world, both in a terrestrial setting and in a marine setting. So the resilience of nature, that's hopeful. Youth, what young people are doing, absolutely extraordinary. The energy, the optimism, the passion, the commitment, that gives us all hope. I mean, it's amazing. At the Goodall Institute, we have a program, it's a global program. It operates in at least 70 countries around the world that we know of. It's called Roots and Shoots. And if you ever need to be hopeful, just see what these young people are doing. The projects they come up with on their own, they're self-directed. It encourages agency in those individuals all over the world. Absolutely extraordinary. So that gives me hope. And then finally, the indomitable human spirit. And that's something that Jane often says, but I think those words are very apropos for the times that we're living in presently and what we will likely be moving into the future. And it's important to remember we've lived through hard times before. And the indomitable human spirit that rolls up your sleeves, that gets to work and does it with optimism, relentless optimism, that's hope. And at the Goodall Institute, and I feel this way personally, hope is not something that's just a passive word. We think of it as a verb, and it's not something that we wait to happen. Jane tells a story about being in a dark tunnel and hope being that pinprick of light way down at the end of that tunnel. But you don't sit there and wait for that pinprick to get brighter. You get up and you move, you push things aside, you crawl over, you squirm under, and you get to that hope. And that's where we are now. We gotta go to that hope, guys.
So with that, I do want to thank our panelists for giving us their time and perspective on this. And I think closing the message is crucial here, right? If you think of that analogy, and I said the light in the tunnel, what helps us get there is hope. Hope breeds courage. And it's going to take courage to act by all of us. My call to action for everyone here in this room is to go on our partners' websites, learn about what they're actually executing on the ground or in the water, learn how they're educating the youth to take this to a whole new level, and learn how they're engaging. You can donate your time, and you can vote with your dollars. If we want to hold large corporations like Disney accountable, not every corporation is going to do it organically. You can vote with your dollars. You can move your capital to companies who are more good and less bad. And we built a platform for you to take that first step. So I'm going to thank the panel, and then you go sit back down. I'm going to call Doug out to continue the spread.
I know that I'm the only person that's standing in the way between food and cocktails, so I'm going to try to be brief. I'm not always very good at it, and we have some more important work to do tonight. I want to also thank our panelists. They're not just impact leaders, they're partners for Newday, and that's super important because our work is all about collaboration. And we do a lot of things as an organization to bring collaboration to the forefront. We have been working intently on the issue that Ashlan Cousteau represented regarding what's going on in the Southern Ocean. And we have kicked off the program with EarthEcho International, a number of really important partners that has been funded by Schmidt-Reed, which is a part of the programmatic piece of the work that we do, tied to our investment work at Newday. We're going to do a couple of other things over the course of the next 30 minutes or so, hopefully sooner than that. We want to give you a sense of what we're doing at Newday Impact One, because it is an absolute pivotal moment for us as we take a business that has historically been focused on family offices and foundations and managing capital in public equities with impact for those organizations. The other thing that I want to share with you is that we are no strangers to this idea that you can't get direct impact by investing in public equities or by changing one owner to another, unless you're a high active manager and you're combining capital deployed in an appropriate way with engagement and advocacy, and that's where we're getting the impact. So what does that mean? It means that if we have a company in our portfolio that is one of the leaders in, I'm going to use this phrase, namely sustainability, or doing great work in the world, but there's additional work that they need to do. We have this small organization that we go knock on their door and say, hey, Amazon, we want to talk to you about your packaging. Do we get attention? Probably not. But when we do it with Philippe and Ashlan and other partners, we absolutely do. And that is our model. We've been working with major families and foundations around the country for the last 8 years, building trust and respect and managing public equity dollars. But that is the front end of a lot of our work that we're in the process of doing right now from a programmatic standpoint. Brian had referenced earlier on in the conversation that there are 3 core approaches that we take as an organization that we brand under Get Informed, the educational piece for everybody, not just for you, but for every generation. And how do we get people to make more responsible decisions, whether they be consumer decisions, whether they be investment decisions? And there's an advocacy piece about getting involved. How do we get people to make more responsible decisions? How do we get them to think about how they're voting proxies? How do we get them to think about how they're making consumer purchases? And the last piece is all about putting your money where your mouth is. How do we get people thinking about capital as a tool for change? We will expand this platform into not just public equity investing, but private, into donations, all tied into this important work that we're doing around those 6 pillars that we've addressed, but of equal importance around the partnerships that we embrace with Goodall, EarthEcho, States Oil, and a number of other organizations. There's a really, really important part of that tied to education, and that is the content that these organizations are providing to Newday today. The insights that they provide to us so that we make, as an investment team, better decisions. And so that we have the ability to raise additional capital, of which, when we generate revenues, a percentage of that revenue stream is going back to support these organizations that are doing the on-the-ground work that they and only they can do. And while we're an impact organization, we are so heavily dependent upon their guidance. Like, we're not going to go out to Goodall and say, hey, here's where we think you should be deploying capital in Africa. We're not going to do that with Cousteau. But we sit down at the table and make sure that we together are making a decision in terms of where that capital should be allocated to make the most important change and impact that we can make. So here's what I'd like to do from here. I'd like to walk through one piece of the Newday platform. The new platform called Newday Impact One, which we are fondly calling NIA. This is a platform that will be available in October, and we will be officially rolling out the platform at SoCap in San Francisco on October 29th. So there will be an opportunity, and we'll talk more about this, for everybody to sign up for the waiting list on this. In fact, if you have your lanyards and everything on the back of your card, there's an icon that you can scan to get onto that waiting list. So we are rewriting what is the next step in our evolution as an impact organization. We've heard from 5 of those organizations tonight, but there are more behind the scenes. The World Bank's Global Partners for Social Accountability is in attendance tonight. Outright International, one of the largest organizations supporting LGBTQ+ rights around the world, and a whole host of other organizations that we're engaged with. So let's take a look at what the investment piece of Newday's platform looks like. And I'm going to walk through some of these screens, and we'll share this with anybody that wants it after tonight's session as well. In the App Store, you'll be able to download the Newday Impact One in either iOS or Android. And our objective was to build a platform that was elegant, sophisticated, yet simplified enough so that anyone, regardless of your sophistication level, could participate around these 3 core concepts: get informed, get involved, and get invested, which are really, really important. We have always believed as an impact organization that you don't have to sacrifice returns to achieve purpose, nor do you have to sacrifice your values to achieve financial returns. Inside Newday Impact One, there are 3 approaches or pillars that I want to talk more extensively about because they're so important. Getting informed. Knowledge is power. We are intent on educating our community on how to become dangerous consumers and arming them with the information that they can make best decisions possible. We also know that there is no such thing, at least today, as a perfectly publicly traded company. And consumers who are armed with this information know that. So one of the things that you won't hear from us is that if there's a portfolio company in a Newday portfolio, we're not going to tell you that they are the end-all, be-all if they're not. And that's where an important part of our advocacy work comes in as well. We select companies based upon our proprietary insights and many of the insights that we gain from our partners, but we also work with these organizations to improve. Getting involved. This is why we're here today, right? The challenge today is that when we think about climate change, oftentimes people don't think about their small carbon footprints and really being able to make a significant difference. But in aggregation, we do. We are a high active investment manager, not a passive manager. And we are believers that capital deployed into public companies doesn't always translate into impact unless you're engaging in the way that we talked about. Getting invested is about putting your money where your mouth is. And inside NEO today, or effective October, people will be able to deploy capital into the Newday One portfolio and ultimately into a set of investment portfolios aligned with those 6 pillars of impact. So Dave, let's walk through the sign-up process. A simple username and password selection will allow entry into the client onboarding process. As an SEC registered investment organization, we guide clients through a set of questions that allow us to better understand their investment objectives that range from investment experience through financial goal setting. We also want to understand the motivations and values alignment of our Newday Impact One community members and which areas are of most interest to the community. Based upon these shared insights, Newday recommends portfolios that are most aligned with your investment objectives and impact goals. Thereafter, a NEO user can select the type of investment account that they would like to open, whether it be an individual brokerage account, a traditional IRA, or a Roth IRA, and other account types will be made available over the course of the next 6 to 12 months. Now let's talk a little bit about the funding of your account. You can select an initial deposit of $1,000 or less if you're funding an ongoing deposit into your NEO account. And your ongoing deposits can be as low as $20 and can be systematically contributed on a weekly, monthly, quarterly, or annual basis. We make the process of funding easy and transparent via an automated or manual bank book. Via the Plaid interface, recognized for being one of the most secure platforms in the world today, which is currently using or encapsulating approximately 12,000 institutions and more than 100 million individual customers. Our integrated technology with Plaid asks NEO users to select their bank. So we enter our bank credentials, And voila, we have our account. The next step is to provide personal information about yourself as required to open any account, any financial services account in the country today. Your name, date of birth, and home address in your account is open. So after your account is open and funded, every time you enter the Neo app, you're going to see your account balance and your performance. Not only will you be able to view your balance, but you'll be able to deposit, withdraw, buy and sell, and edit your recurring investments. You'll also be able to view your portfolio breakdown, your risk level, and your recent activity. Your investment page will reflect the industry classification and the asset classes summary in the Newday Impact One portfolio. And additionally, you'll see classification of economic sectors and your top holdings in the portfolio. So the best is yet to come. So I want to talk just for a moment about our roadmap on a go-forward basis. Early in 2025, we're going to be introducing an opportunity for clients to make direct donations into our impact partners and small dollar-denominated donations. At the end of Q1, we will furnish our first Newday Impact report, which for our users or clients won't feel like a homework assignment, but will translate the work that we are doing relative to your commitment in NEO in a number of different ways. Financial performance, impact performance, how did your capital, as contributed via our revenues to these fine organizations, make a difference? And then a more in-depth look of the work that our partners are doing on the ground on a global scale. In alignment with Newday's ongoing commitment, we will continue to fund a large percentage of our revenues as an organization into an expanding group of partners. So before we conclude, I want to say a couple of final words. I want to thank Anna, Jyoti, Ashlan, Georgie, David for their exemplary work. I have had an opportunity to spend a considerable amount of time with all of them on the road, both domestically and internationally. And the work that they're doing is incredibly powerful. And again, it's no coincidence that all of these organizations have a common theme that runs through them. They're focused on youth, because that truly is our future. We are in the midst of a tidal shift. Companies, corporate companies, public companies, private companies that fail to adapt will be left behind. To Ashlan's point, if you don't have a strategy focused on youth, you don't have a strategy. American not youngsters, but younger generations, making myself sound really old, are 100 million strong, and they already represent 40% of American purchasing power today. And if you don't think that that's going to have impact as we go forward, you're sadly mistaken. And they care more than any other generation that I've ever worked with. And this tidal shift is going to accelerate as this generation inherits more capital, grow their earnings power, and make a difference in the world. So what is our responsibility? Our responsibility as leaders is to teach this generation about how to live responsibly, to encourage them to go out and make change, and to develop their own blueprints for change so that everything that they're focused on in their careers and their personal lives has an impact. So what can you do? Be a believer in change. Do everything that you can do to influence your colleagues, your family members, your children around making this change. Your financial decisions can have a greater impact than you think. We have an adage or phrase that uses this organization called Change the World from Your Pocket. And whether it's $100, $1,000, or $1 million, that is real power. And we are focused on creating these market-based solutions so that we, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years from now, are leaving a better world for our children. Thank you for coming tonight. This has been a really, really important event to us. We're thrilled to see the showing that we've had. And please, the best part of this comes in the next hour. Every one of our partners is sticking around for personal conversations. And, I thought about what I was describing before, this anxiousness that we've all felt. I feel less anxious, not because I bring myself to this level of calm, but because I have trust that these individuals leading these organizations are doing the things that we need to do. And we want all of you to become a part of it. So thank you for coming tonight. We look forward to spending more time with you. And please download the Newday app. And any insights that you have, please don't hesitate to share. Thank you.
Beautiful.
Nice job. Nice job. Thank you very
It's missing. You really need an impact assessment.